I went through my wife's phone after coming home from military duty, as I was paranoid about her being unfaithful. I then found out that she was 6 weeks pregnant and living a double life. I cut her out of my life and moved away for good. This is the first time I put this out somewhere, as I've never spoken to any family or friends out of sheer embarrassment. I feel like this is something I need to get off my chest now that the dust has settled, and I have some time to reflect on what's happened. I was serving overseas for a 9-month deployment, and like many military spouses, my wife Sarah and I maintain our relationship through video calls and messages. Everything seemed normal. She'd tell me about her day, share photos of our dog Max, and talk about how much she missed me. About 7 months into my deployment, something fell off. Her calls became shorter, and she always seemed to be busy during weekends. My battle buddies told me I was being paranoid, but there was this gnawing feeling I couldn't shake. The few times we did video chat, she positioned the camera oddly, and I noticed she'd changed her hair and started dressing differently. When I finally returned home, Sarah seemed distant. She gave me a quick hug at the airport, but something was missing. That spark, that connection we'd always had, it felt gone. The first few days back were awkward, like we were strangers trying to navigate around each other in our own home. One night, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. I know it was wrong, but my gut feeling was screaming at me. What I found shattered my world. There were messages to someone saved as a letter, Jay, talking about their future together. But what really broke me was a message that read, "Baby, I can't wait to tell everyone about our little miracle. 6 weeks and counting," along with a bunch of heart emojis. The timestamp was from 2 weeks before my return. I kept scrolling, and the messages dated back months. Even when I was back from deployment, they were talking every day. I sat there, numb, as everything fell into place. The camera angles during video calls, the weekend commitments, the new clothes. She had been hiding her pregnancy. A pregnancy that couldn't possibly be mine, given the timeline of my deployment. When she came out of the shower, I was sitting on the bed with her phone next to me. She knew immediately. Her face went pale, and she started crying, trying to explain that she made a mistake and that she still loved me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply packed a bag, called my commanding officer to request emergency leave, and walked out while she begged me to stay and work things out. She followed me to my car, saying she would end things with him and that we could raise the baby together. I drove to my parents' house that night. The next day, I contacted a lawyer and began divorce proceedings. I learned that Jay was her yoga instructor, and they'd been seeing each other for months. She had effectively been living 2 lives, military wife to me, expectant mother to him. Within 2 months, I had transferred to a base across the country. I blocked her on everything after the divorce was finalized. Her family tried reaching out, claiming she had changed and realized her mistake, but I stood firm. Nowadays, I'm in a much better place. I've started a new chapter of my life, focused on my career and personal growth. I recently adopted a rescue dog who's helping me heal. Sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and building a better life for yourself. To any military personnel who might be reading this, trust your instincts. And to anyone who's been betrayed, it's okay to choose yourself and your peace of mind over someone else's mistakes. Edit. Thank you all for the support and awards. To clarify some questions, yes, Jay knew about me but thought Sarah and I were separated. And no, I don't know anything about the baby or their current situation, and I prefer to keep it that way. Edit 2. For those asking about Max, our original dog, Sarah kept him as part of the divorce settlement. It hurt to let him go, but I knew staying in contact over pet custody would only prolong the pain. On to the next story. My wife is a chronic cheater and a sex addict. I ended up living with this for years before finally having a breakdown and leaving. I felt awful for leaving her because she tells me that she can't help it and she knows she has a problem. But I had to put myself first. I, 38M, finally moved out of our shared home last week after being married to my wife, 36F, for 7 years. I'm sitting in my new apartment, feeling a mix of relief, guilt, and sadness, but I know I made the right choice. I want to know if anyone else had experienced something like this before or know anyone in a similar situation. When I first met Kate, she was incredible, intelligent, caring, and seemed to have such a deep capacity for love. I met her through mutual friends and going to the same gym together. We hit it off instantly and were inseparable ever since. We dated for 2 years before getting married, and during that time, there were some red flags that I chose to ignore. She would often get extremely close to male coworkers or friends, but always assured me they were just friends. I trusted her completely. To this day, I'm still not sure if these issues only developed since our relationship started, or if she had these problems before, and for whatever reason, she decided not to tell me until after we got married. 6 months into our marriage, I discovered her first affair. It was with a colleague from work. I was devastated, but she broke down completely, telling me she had a serious problem and needed help. She confessed that she had struggled with this behavior in previous relationships too. She promised to get therapy and work on herself, and I, being deeply in love with her, chose to stay and support her through it. She did go to therapy, and things improved for about 8 months. Then it happened again, this time with someone she met at the gym. The pattern would repeat itself: discovery, tears, promises, therapy, improvement, and then another incident. Over the years, there were 6 different men that I know of, and probably more that I don't. The hardest part wasn't even the infidelity itself. It was watching someone I loved struggle with something that was clearly causing her pain too. She would cry for hours, telling me how much she hated herself, how she didn't deserve me, and how she couldn't understand why she kept doing this. She was diagnosed with sex addiction and started attending support groups, but the behavior never truly stopped. I tried everything: couples counseling, individual therapy, supporting her through various treatment programs. I read books about sex addiction, joined support groups for partners of sex addicts, and tried to be understanding. I wanted so badly to be enough to help her heal, to fix what was broken. But last month, something in me finally broke. I found messages on her phone again, and instead of the usual anger and hurt, I just felt empty. I realized I had lost myself in trying to save her. My own mental health was in shambles. I hadn't truly trusted or felt peace in years. I was constantly anxious, checking her phone, wondering where she was, who she was with. This wasn't living. When I told her I was leaving, she begged me to stay, saying she was sick and needed my help. She reminded me of our vows, in sickness and in health, but I finally understood that I couldn't help her if she couldn't help herself, and I couldn't set myself on fire to keep her warm. The guilt is still overwhelming at times. I feel like I abandoned someone who is struggling with a genuine addiction, but I also know that staying would have meant sacrificing my own mental health and happiness completely. I had to choose myself. I'm sharing this because I need to know I'm not alone. Has anyone else dealt with a partner's sex addiction? How did you handle the guilt of leaving? When does it start feeling like you made the right choice? Edit. Thank you all for the supportive comments. It helps to know I'm not alone in this. To clarify, yes, she's still in therapy and attending support groups, and I truly hope she finds healing. I get updates sporadically from her mother, who knew about everything that went on. After one of the incidents, I told her, foolishly thinking the embarrassment would make Kate's behavior stop. She doesn't blame me for leaving, and feels the same pain I do about the situation. I just couldn't wait around anymore to see if it would stick this time. A part of me wants to go back and help her as a concerned friend instead of as her husband. But this might cause more harm than good. What did you think of these stories? Was the man valid for leaving, or should he have stuck by his wife? Let me know your thoughts about them in the comments, and thanks for listening.